The pirates. Now, on to business. Several of you have brought it to my attention that both Big Mama and Madam Horny have gone missing. Furthermore, a fair chunk of Madam Horny's patrons have outright vanished as well. No signs of struggle and nothing beyond them both adding to their stables just before vanishing. Lady Darkness sniffs. Her axiom-made illusion that reduces her head to a floating black skull gave her a permanent glower and a perfect poker face. Down the table are her head lieutenants and top enforcers, in front of them a feast the likes of which most of the planet could only dream of, paid for by the blood, sweat, and desperation of the fools who thought their gang was just a small-time player and not a major weapons distributor across the globe. She had made a point to keep the real strength of her group under the radar. A little while longer and she would be second only to the Vikes, and not merely second for long. Furthermore, the Veeks family has erupted into a flurry of motion. In all likelihood, young Brittany Vecchias has taken control of the family holdings and is moving to secure her position. This is a good thing as she continues before glass shatters behind her, and a black canister bounces across the table and lodges itself next to the roasted barbed boar. The lights die, and smoke fills the room from the canister, leaving the emergency lights and candles as the only precious few sources of light. The smoke stops the light from illuminating anything, merely manifesting as bright red beams in smoke and shadow. "Ladies," a soft voice says as a figure swoops through the smoke. Some of her more violent lieutenants open fire but miss entirely. "You have suckled upon the wealth of this world, sipped its sweetest honey and left its people with nothing. You have preyed upon the weak and helpless, fattened yourself upon their misery and desperation." The Sonier woman says slowly and deeply, "This ends now. From this night forward, you are no longer the predators. From this night forward, the feast is over. You are no longer safe." She explains as she reaches down between the beams of red emergency lights and snuffs out the single candle that illuminates her. As she snuffs out the candle, the others go out as well. Dozens of hands from the smoke and darkness, shaped thicker and blunter, rough and crude by comparison, reach out and snuff out the light. Then the lights return and the feast is gone, with the walls, table, floor, and ceiling covered in graffiti, telling them to beware the night, that we are watching, and to flee the planet, all in a paint so black it seems to drink in the light. "My pistol's gone!" One of her lieutenants cries out, and the cry is quickly echoed around the room. "Enough! We get ourselves armed and go hunting. No stupid Sonier or her pets messes with us. We're having fried bat wings tonight, girls." Lady Darkness swears as she rushes through the room and boots the door open. She can feel her night-black wool almost wilting. The opulent hallway to her dining room was stripped bare of anything of value, covered in the utterly black graffiti, and her guards are all tied up, blindfolded, and gagged. She races through, her illusion fraying at the edge and exposing that she has 4 swooping horns rather than 2 curling ones. She throws open the armory only to find more mockery, empty shelves and a piece of paper. 11 names: Mercy, Miles, Ryu, Lou, Franklin, Jake, Marcus, Cy, Beck, Jean-Luc, and Victor. Under the title, "We Are Watching." "Search the manor," she screams, her fury overtaking her. "No one goes in or out until we have faces for these names. And someone shoot that incompetent cunt heading security. No, kill all of the worthless slags. This kind of thing doesn't stand. We're going on the hunt. Dig up your stashes. We're killing these shits even if we have to burn the city to the ground." "Very poor choice," a deep, reverberating voice says, and her women scream. "A poor choice indeed." The voice repeats, and she turns in time to see her last lieutenant fall to the ground with a thunk. It's a man, a Tret. He's tall, strong, and pale to the point of being nearly white. Pale of hair and with pale blue eyes that remind her of chips of ice. An armored vest protects his torso, and there are bands of weapons and gadgets strapped all over him. A ring glints on his left hand, and his glare could compete with a laser beam for burning intensity. This is your doing," she declares, and he smirks. "In part, your own wickedness brought much of this on you. Or did you honestly think that someone like you wouldn't finally piss of someone strong enough to put the boot down?" he asks, and her mind races. Wickedness? What would one of the three families care about wickedness? Hell, she was part of all their plans in their dances of adversary, advantage, and alliance. The bodies of her lieutenants start vanishing around him in crackles of axiom. Someone unseen and unnaturally skilled was on his side. Or worse, it was all him. She takes a step to the side. The graffiti goes over one of her panic tunnels. A way out. An escape. She dives away as he takes a step forward, and detecting the chip worked into her hidden horns, the door opens. She runs slam into what feels like a wall and falls back. A coward to the last. You gangsters are the same out of cruel space as in it. Cowards looking for someone else to look tough with. An enormous dark-skinned Tret man growls out. He has no shirt to show off his immensely chiseled physique. A strange earring glints in the light as he takes a step towards her. She can feel the floor shake under his armored boots. Cruel space. Wait, that story was real? A race somehow endured in cruel space? "You would know, Jake. Of us all, you would know," the pale one says from behind her as he takes a step himself. She can feel it through the floor as she looks back and forth. Poor, poor little fool. Suddenly she's in the deep end of the pool. A mocking voice echoes out, male as well. "First harshness, then gentleness were found, but it is you that stops us from breaking ground." Enough with the mumbo-jumbo, Franklin. Tear into her mind and be done with it, Jake says, as she tries to find her bearings. Maybe if she lures the dark one out of the hallway, she can escape. "If that is what you prefer." "What do you say, Victor?" the voice asks, and the pale one snorts. "Just do it," he states. She senses a pressure on her mind and her instincts jangle. She dives to the side and races down the tunnel. There's cursing and the streaks of plasma around her before she hits the emergency explosives to collapse it in a show of power. The dual screams of her pursuers bring a savage smile to her face. It was time for her to end this disgrace. To her first safe house she goes, pushing aside a jammed door in the Lowe's. The hidden keypad takes her security code. It is time to begin her avenging mode. It is a brutal slaughter, tinged with her laughter. Unending Sonier fall to her plasma caster. Her instincts explain something is trying to trick, but to focus she puts it aside for a tick. A quick check upon her third and fourth house. No room left to feel any doubts, the soft voice says, and she's back in the armory. She blinks. What had happened? What had happened? "Did you really have to do that in rhyme?" Jake asks, painfully, and there's laughter. She looks around, trying to figure things out. It helped keep the flow and make it all unreal. Since it was so unreal, her mind said it was a dream and started shifting through memories. I just focused it and poof, I've got her safe houses. No better way to end a gang than to steal everything it has and throw everyone in it in the slammer, the soft voice says, and she still cannot see the source. Then it fades in. Pale but speckled with brown spots, this Tret is smaller than the other two, but not by much. His coppery hair is quite appealing, but the axiom dancing in his eyes is nothing short of terrifying. A plasma pistol is suddenly pressed to the side of her head. She had been utterly lost in the eyes of the Tret, who simply smirks. He got her without even touching her. How? Easily, he answers, and she chokes. "Here, put these on and I'll send the big bad Axiom Adept away." Victor offers, holding a pair of cuffs for her. Franklin smiles as the energy in his eyes grows so bright it overtakes everything else. "But She stumbles, unable to find words. The whole situation was insane and terrifying. No one pulled stunts like this. No one. You only get the offer the once. 5, 4, 3, Victor begins. No, Franklin says and suddenly lashes out. The world goes dark and she hits the back of a prison cell. What? How? What's going on? What? She demands and sees opposite of her is Big Mama looking dejected and withered without her coat and without the shine on her chitin. They got you two hung? Big Mama asks. Where are we? Vique's family prison. They took over and are working their way through the world. Big Mama scared. Very, very scared. What are they planning? Big Mama's whole stable been freed. They got 'em all to doctors so they can wean off her herbs. They got all Big Mama's money, Big Mama's products, and Big Mama's secrets. Nothing left for Big Mama but her life, and she was told that belongs to her boys. They decide if Big Mama gonna live or die. Why? There was good money to be made with you. What kind of stupid daughter of a dyke would do this? She demands. They got them strange menfolk from beyond the null. Them from them's places where even the stars are dark. Out of death itself they came, and now Big Mama's ruined. They're wrong. Messed up in the head and heart. No softness to 'em, no gentleness. Big Mama monologues to Lady Darkness's horror. No nonsense either. A new voice pitches in, and the soft clicks of claws on hard floor approaches. Neither of them can lean out of their cells far enough to see anything until a gray-furred and blonde-haired Lopin, littered with scars through her first steps into position. She then stands all the way up to the massive height of her race and glances from Big Mama to Lady Darkness with a smirk. I had to see it for myself. The two biggest remaining players in Mainport brought down like punk girls. Those boys never cease to amaze, she says with a smile that reveals all her fangs. Who are you? Do you have any idea who I am? Of how much shit you've brought down on yourself? I have friends in high places, you know, low ones too. When they find out what you've done to me, yes, threats and pain and sorrow and suffering. Save it for a girl who hasn't gone through the meat grinder of Dark Cabal piracy, she states, and Lady Darkness flinches back at that. You Dark Cabal, like Madame Horny? Then why you put Big Mama in prison? Big Mama friendly competition with Madame? Big Mama asks, holding out her arms in a pleading gesture only to receive a barking laugh. Oh yes, she told me about you, about how you tried to buy her sons off her, about how you promised a life of brutality and pain to one of her sweet little boys, how she hated you with everything she had ever since and has been plotting your death for years. The Lopin says, and Big Mama backs away. As for you, Lady Darkness, or should I say Tinka Knox, you just happened to be in the way and my boys were so kind as to take the initiative and remove you. Those pups are loyal, eager to please sorts, she says. Who are you? Lady Darkness demands, slamming her horns into the bars. I am Captain Agenda Lilpaw. I killed Lady Vequez myself. Her idiot heiress died in the takeover, and everything that was once theirs is mine, she announces, and Lady Darkness backs away in fear. I'm the woman with pups in her, looking to give them an entire planet as a playground. I'm the Lopin with a mate so loyal that he's got schemes and plots to make my takeover of this planet smooth and easy. I'm the captain who's going to be a queen. Any questions? What do you plan to do with me? Lady Darkness asks, and Agenda smiles again. We've already intercepted your weapon shipments and raided the caches. So you're out of business, meaning the gangs and thugs and slavers you've been keeping armed and dangerous will quickly find their supply drying up, making them easier to roll over. So at best you're going to rot, or I could let Franklin have you. He's been itching to experiment with the more unpleasant forms of axiom use. He's really quite the scholar. Did you know it's possible to dissolve something into base energy and convert it into raw axiom? I didn't until I saw him turn his obstacles into fuel for his power. Oh, goddess, no. Lady Darkness whispers in horror. Or maybe to my Miles. The father of my pups prides himself in his accuracy and hunting abilities. I'm sure you'd make a decent target for a while. So much to consider, so much to consider. I'll have to think on what I'm going to have done with you. Ta for now. Agenda muses before turning around and descending to all fours to walk out with a light giggle, leaving the two terrified women alone with each other. Outside the prison block, Agenda giggles to herself at the show she put on with Mari Horny, just shaking her head at her. "Really, Agenda? Really?" she asks as she struggles to fight down a smile of her own. "I couldn't help it. It's fun to mess with them. Just to keep things clear, you're going to have to show me something way worse than an arms dealer if you want me to experiment on a person with a clear conscience." "Woo!" Franklin remarks, walking by with a stunned expression, one that rapidly turns to a smile. Clearly, the industrial strength tranquilizers have been a boon. "Oh, let me have my fun, you little shit." Agenda grumps and Mari starts to giggle. "Although to be fair, you've been having your own, haven't you? What was that speech you had Mercy make about?" Fictional vigilante character with a major bat theme going on, Mercy being a hardened fighter and a bat just made it too perfect to ignore. It was how he introduced himself to the criminal gangs of his city. "There's going to be a lot of that kind of madness, isn't there?" she asks, and he chuckles with a nod.